Hey friends, it's Em here with the Mom Edit, and today, while the baby is napping, I am going to attempt to show you 5, maybe 6 things that I use in the kitchen. These are smaller gadgets that are absolute must-haves, nothing big, nothing fancy. You guys know what knives you like to use and what Dutch ovens you like to use and what mixers you like to use. These are just small handy gadgets that make light work of some tasks that can be kind of a nuisance sometimes. So, let's do it. She's waking up. She's waking up. Perfect. We'll have to move quickly. Item number 1 is this cheese grater. I could wax poetic about this cheese grater for, on and on and on. I wrote a blog post on it. This is my cheese grater of choice at the moment. It is from OXO. I don't know how you say that. Anyway, it's got your standard cheese grating features, but I love that the zester comes off so you can use that on its own. It also means that you've got better access to cleaning the inside. And then it's got this handy container into which you can grate your cheese. So if you need to grate a certain amount, it automatically measures that volume out for you. And then if you've grated more than you need, there's a lid that you can just snap on and stash the rest in the fridge so you're good to go for quesadillas or whatever else you might need the extra cheese for later. When you're not using this, it stashes neatly inside so it doesn't take up any extra space. And the whole thing is super robust, dishwasher safe. It's been game changing. Okay, next up, all hail the cookie scoop. This might just look like an ordinary cookie scoop. It is, they number these. I'm gonna have to find out the number because the number tells you the portion. So this is more than a cookie scoop or more than an ice cream scoop. It is the perfect size scoop if you want to make your 7-year-old a banana split with 3 scoops of ice cream, and they just happen to be incredibly dinky. It's also perfect size for cookies. So last year we made cookies every Monday just to get Lana kind of stoked for the week. It was the scoop that I used every single Monday, no matter what type of cookie I was making, chocolate chip, sugar cookies, molasses cookies, the perfect size portion for a standard cookie. It's also perfect for meatballs or anything that's in the meatball genre. So I just scoop all of the portions of meatballs onto a sheet pan, like boop, 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 and then with wet hands go back through and form them into perfect balls. But this makes very quick work of portioning out the meatballs. Also, have never had any issues with this one in the way that the trigger works. It's extremely robust and also dishwasher safe. Okay, this one is a longtime fave of mine. It's called the garlic twist. Mine has got to be 20 years old. It's a first generation. I think they look a little bit different now. Basically, it's this piece of acrylic, super durable plastic that has little teeth in it that fit together. You give it a little twist and it basically shreds your garlic. You can probably handle maybe 4 or 5 cloves at a time depending on the size, more if they're the dinky ones from the middle of the bulb. Super quick work of the garlic. Your hands never really have to come in contact with the garlic. I just give it a quick rinse under hot water, but also dishwasher safe if you wanted it to. And then a handy tip is I knock them together like this to get all of the little garlic pieces out, and then take a fork. Most forks have the tines spaced roughly this distance apart. And I just use a fork to scrape all the garlic out of the grooves. Probably the only tool that I use for crushing garlic, unless I, for some reason, don't have access to it and I'm just rough chopping it with a knife. But don't do any of those mashers, the things that have the grid and you gotta scrape them, and no, don't do that. Do this. Okay, a more random one. This is a dough whisk. And I bought it during the pandemic when I decided that I was going to be a bread baker. That lasted all of like 3 weeks. No, it lasted longer than that. The idea with this is that it perfectly combines wet and dry ingredients together, and you can kind of tell it has the same sort of like hooked shape as a paddle or as a hook attachment, a bread hook attachment on like a mixer. So it's just really good for pulling wet and dry ingredients together, particularly ones that are kind of stretchy or elastic. The greatest thing about this though, if you are not a bread baker, is it is the ideal instrument for combining any type of ground meat. So if you're making meatballs or burgers or meatloaf or anything like that, this is perfect for mixing the ground meat with any seasonings without getting your hands gross, because I do think that the best tool for that is really your hands, but I'm always touching Lana and other things and babies and can't wash my hands a billion times while I'm making dinner. So this means that I don't have to touch the raw meat with my hands. It also means that Lana can help and not make too big of a mess of her hands. And it is the perfect tool for mixing breadcrumbs or egg or seasonings or what have you into your ground meat while keeping the meat really loosely packed, so it's not getting mashed together. You end up with really tender meatballs or burgers or whatever it is that you're making. It doesn't get pulverized, it just gets gently, thoroughly combined. Love it. Okay, and these guys kind of go hand in hand. Little Tweedledee Tweedledum action. They don't really, they nest together in my drawer, which is why I think that. It's not like I use them for the same purpose, but I'm gonna talk about them the same because they kind of look the same. This one is a pastry cutter. There's two different types of pastry cutters you can get. One that has kind of a blade style like this and ones that have wires right here. So I am specifically recommending this style with the blades. Obviously works great if you're trying to blend butter into flour for a pie crust or a crumb topping, something like that. But also really excellent if you want to make quick work of egg salad, if you want to make guacamole super fast. You can throw your ingredients in the bowl, give them a quick mash with this, and the blades are just sharp enough to perfectly chop up those eggs, to perfectly quasi-mash, quasi-dice those avocados. I've also used it for like a fresh mango relish type of situation. Any type of medium soft fruit or vegetable that you would want roughly diced or chopped, you can make super quick work of it with this thing. And unlike a mezzaluna or something that has this shape but with genuinely sharp blades, there's no risk of hurting yourself. So another great tool that I can give the kiddo, and she can help with dinner that way too. And it's Buddy, the bench scraper. This is perfect for pizza night, anything where you're trying to combine a lot of things together on the counter. Again, bringing together dough or things like that, but also perfect for portioning things. So again, for portioning meat, if you need to cut ground beef into patties or something like that for portioning that. It's also really spectacular for slicing cookies. If you are making slice and bake cookies, it's great for basically slicing anything where you don't need a super sharp edge. So again, sometimes we use this when Lana needs to slice something to help in the kitchen. It also helps with cleanup tremendously. I do this a few times on the counter, slide it right into the under counter garbage bin. And even though I need to do a thorough wipe down of the counter afterwards, if it's something like flour or something messy or dusty, or if we're doing crafts that involve glitter, it all gets gathered up and put into the waste bin with the bench scraper. So a great multitasker, relatively flat, doesn't take up much space in your drawer, and super worth having. Okay friends, the little one is most definitely awake, so I'm gonna go grab her, but those are these 6 small taskers that we have and use all the time in our kitchen. Can't recommend them enough. If you like what you saw, make sure that you subscribe down below and check back often to see more of what we love here on The Mom Edit. Bye. Yeah, should we go make some lunch? Should we make some lunch?